Hi, and welcome back to Newspaper Article Lucky Dip. We're still in Season 2. We were on hiatus for a little while due to tech issues that were just plaguing the household. Seems to be okay for just now, so we'll see how it goes. Now, I'm going to blag Yvette's hat for our purposes, and as far as trigger warnings go, anything can be picked out. There are distressing articles in the mix. Not that I remember what they entailed, but just to spare yourself any distressing feelings, you maybe want to have a wee look in the description below just to see what articles we do pull out today, and avoid if necessary for yourself. So we'll just get into this for just now, because it's been a while. Let's just get going, you know. So we're pulling out a few there. Alright. So we have the Inverness Courier for the 9th of November 1854. I would normally show you, but apparently you don't really get to see the way the camera's set up. So you're going to have to just trust me that this is the article that's pulled out the hat. So we have a fairly short article to begin us here. It's entitled Extraordinary Coincidence. The 23rd of September, the day on which the Russians sunk their ships of war in the entrance to Sebastopol, is the first day of the French year according to the Republican character, the first day of the Jewish year, and also the first day of the Mohammedan year. The commencement of the French year is concurrent with the autumnal equinox. The Jewish is a regular lunar year, and the Mohammedan consists of only 354 days and 9 hours. This strange occurrence of the 3 New Year days has never happened before, and will not be witnessed again before thousands of years. All the ships sunk were engaged in the Sinope massacre, or Sinope massacre. So there you go. So it's not really so much to do with the boats that were sunk, or the war in Sebastopol. It's really just the strange coincidence of those New Year's days all happening at once. They're not very specific about how often that might happen. They said it hadn't happened before, so I assume that's since the onset of the Mohammedan or Muslim religion. And it says it won't happen again before thousands of years. I wonder if that's correct. I don't know how you would work that out. It's certainly not my field of expertise there. So we'll have another. So we have the Dundee Courier for the 27th of June 1873. See what the Dundee Courier has for us. Okay, so we have another very short article in the Dundee Courier here. It's entitled Devilfish Caught on a Fishing Line. See what they consider to be a devilfish. We have an odd occurrence happened the other day. One of my servants was fishing for whitings in Loch Long, and a very fine octopus caught hold of the lead sinker and was hauled into the boat. I am very sorry that he was not nearer to the Brighton Aquarium, as he was a finer specimen than they have yet had, and of course quite lively and unhurt. I have sent the brute to Glasgow to be preserved. So he didn't remain unhurt, I assume. Did he send it alive to Glasgow? He said it to be preserved. Maybe it was alive? Maybe it was sent to be exhibited in an aquarium or something in Glasgow? I'm not sure. I love octopuses. I think they're absolutely amazing creatures. But I don't know why they would call it a devilfish. That's very strange. Classing it as a fish at all, I assume that's just because it came out the water, because it doesn't have very much in the way of relation to your standard fish. But yeah, there you go. There was documentary that I'd watched, and it's talking about how octopuses are so clever and they can learn things so easily, but that the parent figure, the mother, will die pretty much as soon as the offspring are born, because she gives up her life just to care for the eggs. And so there's a suggestion that they're so smart despite not having any adults to learn from, really. They're kind of born, their mother's passed, and they just go off into the oceans and do for themselves, really. But there were colonies found where it was almost like octopus societies, where they were able to learn from the adults, and I wonder what that might lead to, because they are just crazy smart, and being that way without any adult to emulate is astonishing in itself. But what must they be like with the experiences they can learn from their adults? I like the ideas around that. I figure some kind of cracking sci-fi could be written based on that. But yeah, I absolutely love octopuses. So that's a nice story. I didn't think that you got them in Scottish lochs, though. I think Loch Long is connected to the Clyde estuary, the Firth of Clyde, I believe. So I guess they could come in from the Atlantic, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure about that at all. We'll have another one. These have just been short episodes, say, short wee articles. Oh. Let's see. We have the Forfar Herald for the 11th of January 1889. See what the Forfar Herald has for us. So this is something of a longer article here. It's entitled The Glamis Castle Ghost, so this should be interesting. It reads, a society paper prints the following particulars of Glamis Castle, the seat of the Earl of Strathmore, whose eldest son, Viscount Glamis, is entertaining company. As the Earl and Countess of Strathmore have decided upon wintering abroad, Glamis Castle will open its hospitable doors under the auspices of Viscount Glamis, their eldest son. Glamis Castle is one of the few remaining houses in Great Britain that can still boast of a well-authenticated ghost. Some terrible secret is supposed to be locked up in the bosom of the Earl of Strathmore, and is only known to him and the family solicitor. In brackets we have, that is the unromantic fact of it, for a thoroughly well-behaved ghost, after the old fashion, should, of course, have nothing to do with solicitors, and is by them imparted to the heir on his attaining his 120th birthday. So now there are 3 persons in possession of their dread secret: Lord Strathmore, Lord Glamis, and their legal adviser. That some absurdity of this kind does really exist is beyond all question, but it is probably only some silly family tradition which is kept up. Be this, however, as it may, a friend of ours stayed at Glamis Castle some years ago, and the following very odd occurrences really took place. He had often chaffed young Lord Glamis about this ghost and this terrible secret, for he and Glamis were old friends, having been in the same house at Eton together, and on the evening of his arrival at Glamis Castle he asked the tutor to come up and have a cigarette with him in his bedroom. Suddenly, as the clock struck midnight, while they were talking over these ghostly matters, seated by a blazing fire, every door in the castle opened. This is an absolute fact. The poor tutor was half frightened out of his wits. There you go. Perhaps Glamis Castle is still haunted by their door-opening ghostie. Who knows? I'm not sure how many of the Scottish nobility ended up being schooled at Eton. I don't know that that bodes well for them, considering the type of people that can come out of Eton, but there we go. We'll have another one. This will be the last one, I think. Okay. So we have the Dumfries and Galloway Standard for the 16th of September 1846. Let's see what the Dumfries and Galloway Standard has for us today. Alright, so we have another article that's entitled A Strange Occurrence. Seem to be a number of articles entitled something in similar vein that I keep picking up on. It doesn't really lend itself to any explanation of what we're about to read, so we'll see what we've got here. We have some commotion was caused at Berlin on the evening of the 28th ultimo. A great crowd was assembled to witness a balloon ascent, when, in the Rue Royale, a man stepped out on the balcony of the third story of one of the houses and began to address the persons below, flinging out at the same time handfuls of gold and some banknotes. Whilst the persons below were endeavouring to pick up the money, he drew out a pistol and fired on the moving mass. The shot wounded a young man, but not dangerously. He then drew out another pistol and was about to fire when the crowd gave way on all sides. Some persons, however, entered the house to arrest the man who, it was supposed, must be mad. When, on seeing them appear, he threw himself into the street and was so severely injured that he died shortly after. He turned out to be a brewer named Kraus, whose brain had been turned by anxiety attendant on a lawsuit. In his pocket was found a gold box, on the lid of which was scratched with a pin or the point of a penknife the words "Died August 28th, 1846, which would seem to intimate that he had for some time made up his mind to commit suicide on that day. That's quite the way to take yourself out. I hope the guy that was shot by him was at least able to fill his pockets some in way of compensation for having been shot. But to then just throw yourself out the window. Wow. Yeah, that's the mentality of someone that's in the middle of a frenzy, just not caring what happens. But that's where we're going to end this episode, is with this strange Mr. Kraus, who appears to have been driven to some very strange acts within a very short space of time. We may see you for the next one. Take care.